Welcome to The Pestle, reviewing and breaking down movies to look for insights into the movie-making process. Hosted by Face Tattoos, because nothing says you're friendly like letting strangers draw on your map. Let's dim the lights and start the show.
Welcome everyone to The Pestle. Today's show is brought to you by Strangé. The sweet smell of such sexiness. Get crazy, get Strangé. Welcome everyone to The Pestle. I am Wes.
And I am Todd.
And we're filmmakers. We like to make things and review films and discuss how maybe they made a thing or what we notice about the filmmaking process and storytelling and all kinds of things. I wanna get right into it, man. What are we covering?
Yeah, today we are covering Boomerang, which, when did this come out?
92.
92, with Eddie Murphy. So if you haven't seen this film, pause this episode because we're going to spoil a bunch of stuff. Yep.
We'll dive into a handful of things, talk about some of the directing and wardrobe as symbolism and maybe wardrobe as character. And we'll also talk about some of the story and writing, talk about intercutting sequences and other such stuff and things and stuff.
And a quick synopsis of the film. A successful executive and womanizer finds his lifestyle choices have turned back on him when his new female boss turns out to be an even bigger deviant than he is. It's directed by Reginald Hudlin, screenplay by Barry W. Blaustein and David Sheffield, cinematography by Woody Omens. It's featuring Eddie Murphy as Marcus, Halle Berry as Angela, Robin Givens as Jacqueline, David Alan Grier as Gerard, Eartha Kitt as Lady Eloise, and Gracie Jones as Strangé.
There's certain things you just have no control over, all right?
Really? Like what?
Like love.
Love. You know, what do you know about love? What do you possibly think you know about love? You know, I'm sick and tired of men using love like it's some kind of disease you just catch. Love should have brought your ass home last night.
Didn't you just hear me say I was sorry?
I heard you say you're sorry. You're sorry and you're tired. You don't love me. You don't love Jacqueline. You only love your damn self.
How could you say I never cared about you? You know, Jacqueline says that I'm a better person now, and I know I owe that all to you.
Okay, so I don't know if this was one you caught in the 90s or not, and whether or not there's any like sense of familiarity there, or if this was the first time for you. But I will say, in the 90s, there's basically like three quintessential black like pillars of black romance films: Love Jones, Love and Basketball, and Boomerang. And you were a no-go on Love Jones. And so I'm curious, like, if Boomerang played better for you with the comedy, or if this was just another strike on the black romance 90s flicks for you. What do you think?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I don't want to make it racial, like, at all. But one thing I did, like, really enjoy was, like, the opposition that this movie presented probably in the early 90s that nobody was used to, which was it was 95% black actors on screen the entire time. There was very rarely a white person. And I'm talking about in The Office too, you know, particularly like, and that was really probably like, I mean, now it's refreshing to see, but back then it was probably like, you know, very jarring for a white audience to see that, you know, like, and I loved it that like they took this opportunity to say, you know what, we're going to make this world how we want it to be, you know? And in this case, it was, you know, all black people and everywhere, as in like, there was narrowly a white face to be seen unless it was being made fun of. And I'm fine with that, you know, like same. I was fine with that. Particularly, I thought it was funny with when they were shopping for the suits or whatever, and they were, and the guy was like, it was like a Pretty Woman moment where he was basically like, "You can't afford this," and they were like, "What?" you know. So yeah, and Eddie Murphy on screen with David Alan Grier and Martin Lawrence and even Chris Rock, an early Chris Rock was like really cool, you know, to see these titans, these icons, like on screen together, you know? And obviously Eddie Murphy was already the biggest thing on the planet at that time. But and I don't know yet if Martin had his show yet, if Martin was on air yet.
Yeah, I want to say it was probably right at the same time, like 91, 92. I'll look it up.
Because the woman that plays his wife is the neighbor that yells at Eddie.
Tisha Campbell, yeah.
Yeah. And she was fantastic. I loved her.
Yeah, she's great.
I've always loved her. I've always thought that she was like really great. Anyway.
Yeah, 92. So same year this came out, Martin came out. Yeah.
Perfect. And I've always thought that David Alan Grier is like, he has another gear to him in every direction, is the way that I feel about him. If you want him to be funny, he can make you roll laughing. If you want him to be serious, he can make a room stop, you know? And I think that he does that in this movie. Like, he's hilarious at times. And then when he confronts Marcus about, you know, sleeping with Angela, like, you know, you're like, oh shoot, here we go. And yeah, he kind of, in a way, reminds me of my dad, who's like a very patient guy and very like kind and stuff. But if you get on his wrong side, then you better look out.
That's such a good point. Like, he set up that character so well that all the lightness, all the bubbly gooiness, once that goes away, you feel that shift and you're like, that sucks. This really isn't fun.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. Yeah, he had to set that up because the whole time you're like, oh, he's like a goody two shoes kind of, you know, bubbly, you know, kind of dude. It'd be hard to, like, I'm not afraid of this guy.
Yeah.
You know, and then all of a sudden, and then he steps up to Marcus, like, and they give him that opportunity to physically invade his space. And I thought that was a really smart choice.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of like blocking and stuff.
Great call out. Such a good point.
I loved Strangé.
Grace Jones.
Just strange, right? But yeah, but French. I thought that was hilarious. And I thought Eddie Murphy did a great job and everything. That being said, I hated the story. I thought the story, and I'm forgiving it for being in the 90s.
Okay.
And because this story is not reserved for the Black community. Like this is a story that has been told multiple times in that decade. And I've hated it every single time. So
yeah, this is Alfie once again, right? Like Alfie, Michael Caine, Alfie, and whatever that was, 70s. Just a womanizer who needs to be taught a lesson, so to speak.
Yes, and too often, the biggest problem I have is that too often there is very little to no cost to it, and everything works out in the end for the womanizer, and I hate that because it's not real. It's just not. And if it is real, then you're with the wrong freaking person, and that person is a wuss. To me, Marcus is the worst character. He's just awful. He's absolutely awful. And it's not just because he's a womanizer. It's not. It's because he's a bad friend. Right? Like, because if you look at other, I don't know about other movies, but like if you look at a character, they have a line usually that is kind of established, right? And maybe that line is crossed in terms of like a love interest, right? But there is still some kind of like, yeah, okay, you know, he'll mess around with another girl, but you know, his friends are like that's it. Like he won't. But there is no line for Marcus. Marcus just like wants what he wants. He gets what he wants. And then at the end, there's no cost to it. And then he shows up to Angela's work, right? He invades her work and then basically says, I can't breathe without you. And then she starts making out with him and forgives him. Bullshit. Like, I hated that. I absolutely hated it. He should have some kind of cost. And the same thing with Gerard. Gerard just forgives him and hugs him. Are you kidding me? I would never speak to you again. Like we're done, you know? But the fact that like he just fixes shit with the same weapon that he womanizes women with. His mouth, his words. He fixes everything. So what cost is there? There's no cost. It's literally just a surface flat story of I want this, I get this, I mess this up, I fix this, and then we go on our way. It was like there was no meat to it at all. The only meat to it was like seeing these people on screen, like seeing Halle Berry, a young Halle Berry on screen across from Eddie Murphy. Fantastic. Seeing David Alan Grier, who is my favorite part of this whole movie, honestly.
It's so good.
On screen next to them was like, that was fantastic, you know? But the story itself is just like, I mean, and I want to like it, you know, like I do. Like there are plenty of 90s movies that I do like. I think this was just like a little too close to the 80s. Mm-hmm. It's like felt very 80s to me. And not in a good way. You know, not that there's a massive difference in film. There's a massive difference in music between the 80s and 90s, but in film, not really until you get to like late 90s, right?
Yeah, so. I would say like right around 94 is when there's this shift in what's we effectively think of as quintessential 90s. Like starts to really happen in 94 through whatever, 99. And then, 91, 92, and definitely still has 80s hangover vibes to it. Mm-hmm. And then 93 is, I don't know, this kind of shift starts to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's fair.
So that was the thing for me. It was, I loved the cast. And I loved the acting. I thought the acting was great. I believed Eddie Murphy was Marcus. I believed, you know, Halle. I believed them all. It's just the writing was terrible. It was trite and flat and didn't take me anywhere that was interesting. It didn't stand the test of time for me, I'll say. Maybe it was great at that time. And, you know, I'll forgive it because there's probably been like a dozen more movies, 50 more movies that have done the same thing. Right. And believe me, I've hated them all. Like, you can't find a movie that tells me this story and I like it. Like, I just don't. Yeah. But so I'll forgive it that maybe there was a dozen before this and there's been 30 since then. But still, I feel like there's very rarely an excuse for something like this. Like if you can write movies that are like, well, now I can't think of an example, but if you can write movies that have more weight to them, then there's no excuse to have a movie that doesn't have any. And this really doesn't. I felt no attachment to any relationship in this movie at the end. Like there's nothing. There was at the beginning. That's the problem, is like there was attachment at the beginning. Like, you know, I knew that he was going to be into his boss and they had an attachment. They kill that, which is fine, right? He had an attachment with his friends. He killed that. He had an attachment with Angela. They killed that, right? And then they glue it back together with this stupid cheesy line of "I can't breathe without you," and then everything is okay. Sorry, like that's the Hollywood glam, you know, like gloss that they put over everything. That's the thing that, like, you know, we nowadays see through in a second, right? But maybe in the 90s, early 90s, they didn't. So
nice.
I'll pause because I'm curious how this holds up for you. When was the last time you saw this movie?
God, it's been at least 10 years. Like, I'll watch Love Jones every 1 or 2 years, and I'll watch Love and Basketball probably every 3 or 4 years. And this, like, I watched it a lot in the 90s, like a lot. But then I really didn't watch it again I've probably seen it once or twice since high school over the last, whatever that is, 20 years. You know, that's just forever, you know? And so, yeah, for me, I was surprised coming back to it after so long because when we revisit films like this from so long ago, from my childhood, I tend to turn on them. Like it's kind of 50-50 at this point. And for me, I didn't. I was still there. I was cracking up. Like I was laughing at Lady Eloise, like all that stuff with her assistant, you know, the butler kind of guy in her place. Like he kept giving these looks.
I did like that. Yeah.
I was dying because he doesn't say almost anything if he says anything at all, but his looks were just freaking leveling me. I was laughing out loud by myself. Yeah, everything with Martin and David Alan Grier was just fantastic. I love, yeah, I mean, it all worked for me. Strangé, Grace Jones, Strangé is out of this world. It all plays. Like for me, I was still there, still connected. That doesn't mean that I don't agree with a lot of what you're saying. I don't know that I agree 100%, but I don't have a lot to refute it. And so I'm on very thin ice. I'll completely own that. Because you're right. I will say, getting to the end of the film, it is glue. It is very much Elmer's like, well, let's just not put too much weight on this, like, because it's going to fall down. And, you know, and that's fair. That is very fair. He gets her back. Although what I did like about that final scene that made me want it to work was a couple of things. First of which is watching Angela be so cold. Like whenever you see her, the way she's talking to her staff, man, that's really not her, because she's rejecting everything. She's down on everyone's work. You know, even when a new person walks in and she's going to look at their work, she's effectively rolling her eyes at it. She's like, what do you got for me? Like she's just ready to tear it apart. And it's such a reversal of everything she had been up to that point. Very lighthearted and very excited about work, very excited about art. And now this thing that she's hanging in her office, that's the kind of crux of her new job, right? This piece of art that came from her love of Marcus suddenly is like haunting her. I don't know. I don't know that I would say it quite like that as I'm watching the film. I wouldn't say it's like haunting her, but the way I'm thinking about it from her perspective of living in that office with this artwork all around her, reminding her of this failed love, it becomes kind of her shield. And now she's just very down on everything. And you're like, where's the old Angela? And so that's what I'm rooting for, especially whenever she completely rejects her old way of thinking. When the kids walk in, they're like, where have you been? She says, I had to rearrange my priorities in life. Angela had to start looking out for Angela. Ooh, because everything that whenever we go to meet the kids, she's telling him, right? Marcus is like, I want to be back in my apartment listening to Sade. I don't want to I'm not trying to go out and paint. Like, this is insane. She's like, no, look, the best way I've always heard to get over something going wrong in a relationship is to put the attention on someone else. And that's true. That's like hardcore great advice in life. If you're ever depressed, going through it, stop thinking about yourself and get out there and help other people. Life really does switch gears so quickly whenever you do that. That's great, wonderful advice. And to see her throwing it away at the end, saying, hey, no, I need to start thinking about me. You understand why she's thinking that way, but you also, if you, they don't give you time to ponder on it, but if you do get a moment to think about that perspective shift in her life, you understand that it's hurting her instead of helping her. And so there's a vibe that's happening there that I think actually underscores your point of we don't have enough time. And this is where I think a 2-hour runtime is right for this movie, but to reinforce what you're saying, I think they could have structured it slightly differently to let us have a more satisfying conclusion, because I think they mostly use it pretty well to show us how him and Jacqueline don't work, to show us how him and Angela do work, but they could have trimmed out maybe 15 minutes from the first hour and reallocated that to the back end to give us more time with Angela, more time with him to see how he's changed. Because the other way that I think it does work is this is a comedy, and in a comedy, you do want things to work out for the better. But I think you're making an excellent point that it doesn't come at enough cost, that the apology happens too quick. And I think for me, the reason it does work is because there's a comedy backbone. Whenever you feel the comedy go away, you're ready for it to come back. And that for me is how they justify it, and why I never second guessed it. Like, definitely as a kid, like I'm 11 years old, so what do I care?
Yeah.
But that emotional, I think I did notice it emotionally, that I wanted the humor and the good vibes to come back. And so when they come back, I'm just glad for that. And I'm not holding it against the movie. And I think that's what audiences largely were responding to, that the vibe shifted and you're ready for that to come back to what we'd been enjoying for the first, hour 45, hour 50 of the film. And you're just excited for that to come back. But in hindsight, it probably could have, there was another gear that they could have hit that would have made it even more satisfying, and even better crowd pleaser, even within the 90s vibes, the 80s, 90s kind of vibes. Because these are the same writers, and these guys are white. Like, I didn't realize that until...
What?
Right.
Are you fucking kidding me?
These guys also wrote Coming to America. So
what?
Yeah.
Wait, what? I am blown away right now.
So I spent some time thinking about that. After I realized it, I was like, hold on. This doesn't sit well. Because you just don't imagine white guys in the 80s and early 90s having this kind of perspective or worldview, let alone grasp of the language. Right at the end, she says, "You are sorry and you're tired." Like, she flipped contextually what he was saying, right? That makes complete sense to anyone remotely close to, the black community and, culture. And so for them, I'm just guessing, I don't know, maybe they're plugged in, and that's why Eddie Murphy connected with them, because he gets the story by credit. The story is his, and they got the screenwriting credit. And so I'm imagining they're writing the story, and either there's another writer that's coming behind them and punching up the dialogue to be like, "Oh, you white motherfuckers. Like, this is how you say it. This is how this is what it is." Or that's Eddie Murphy, who's just like, "Oh, guys, okay, hey, yeah, I get it." And he's just correcting them. Or it's a combination of them and like the actors coming in, and Halle's saying, "Okay, yeah, no, I can zhuzh it up a little bit. I can bring my experience to this." Or maybe a combination of all those things. Because I also just think this has so much Eddie Murphy in it, that he really is as much as this is directed by Reginald Hudlin, I just wouldn't be surprised if Eddie Murphy, as a producer and, the leading man, that he was like, "Okay, this scene is this, and you shoot it however you want to shoot it. But this is what the scene is going to be." I would be curious, and maybe I'll dive in at some point, just to research like what that process was like, because it kind of blew my mind to know this is the same, brain trust behind so many Eddie Murphy films. Coming to America, The Nutty Professor. It's just like these three guys coming together to make something their own, that is very specific. But also Eddie Murphy playing Marcus. I cannot imagine another actor playing that character and pulling it off. Like, the comedy that he's doing is so specifically Eddie Murphy. Any other actor doing that, you just lose faith in their ability to be sexy. Like, Eddie Murphy is playing a sexy guy who's doing some really silly stuff, but never loses that edge of sexiness that you're like, I still get his sexual attraction and ability to pull in women. That's I don't know any other comedians that are able to do that, to walk that line. Maybe if I sat and thought about it, but certainly not off the top of my head. I'm like, man, this guy is his own thing. And I don't know if we've seen another Boomerang. I mean, I think we saw How to Be a Player, Bill Bellamy trying to do that, and it's fine. It's not a bad movie, by 90s standards. But he never did Eddie Murphy, man. It just never hit this gear. And so I don't know, but I don't even remember where I was going. Like, I was just, the idea that
It's all right.
those two guys.
It's all right. It's, it is I imagine a difficult, like thing too. Cause like it's, this movie has a special place in your heart too. It's not, like when you watch this movie, you see your childhood, you're like instantly there.
Yep.
Right. I don't have that. Like there's no way my parents would have let me watch anything like that. Like,
oh, true.
Hardcore Catholic growing up. Like, no. I had to be out of the house. So I was, and by that time, this movie was 7 years old, 8 years old.
Right.
So, and I wasn't really into movies at the time. I was more into music. So, so I don't have that, link to it.
I will say, so going back to your comment at the very start where you're talking about like this being a new black experience, effectively, like we're envisioning a corporate America that's all black. This it's so interesting to watch it as an adult because it's, like you said, it's full of black actors, not just the leading cast, the background. Like everyone in there is black. Black people are in control of their company, of their art. And it's not like there isn't still some international aspect, right? We meet white businessmen, they're French, they're from another country, and they're dealing with them. And it's really beautiful and interesting. And then you have white people primarily in service positions, right? Wait staff, the trainers at the gym are white. If you're looking in the background, it's not right. You pointed out the
suit
sales
salesman?
guy. Yeah. The salesman. It's so good because they also don't reimagine this film and make it non-black. It includes a wide spectrum of black culture along with that, right? You have the hustlers outside the Apollo, the suit store being watched and followed by an employee because you're black in a store, in a nice store. And so it doesn't remove the America-ness of it all, right? You have a friend, a conspiracy guy who's looking at everything through the lens of being black in America. You have these stray bullets coming at you symbolically, where Chris Rock has that comment, "You think Malcolm X died so you could walk around looking like a chump?" Like, it's a great line. Freaking kills me. It's so good. And so they're not like making some adjacent black America. It still exists within America, but it's also creating a whole new vision of what you could be, as someone being black in America. And it's beautiful. And what I find so amusing about it, watching it as an adult, is as a kid, it never occurred to me. Like, I was just watching a movie. And for me, I think that's so important for me as a young white man to have been watching, movies like Boomerang and watching TV shows like The Cosby Kids or The Cosby Show. And because it just never occurred to me. That's what you want, to paint a picture in someone's mind of, this is just life. This is just what life looks like. It's, sometimes you have very normal upper class black households, and you have black companies and black bosses and, black artists. And that's exactly what you want, is painting a picture of the world as it does exist. There were black businesses and black artists doing their thing in the 90s and the 80s. You just never saw it represented in, film and media. And so having those pictures painted for everyone to enjoy and to not, I don't know, make it like some weird thing, because you never hear any of them talk about being a black business owner, right?
Yeah, no, it's just,
It's just life. This is just my company. And like, oh, and then you see a guy get passed over for a promotion by a woman, and then he's okay with it. Like, he's not excited about it because he thought it should have gone to him, but he doesn't stomp and pout, And I think that's a healthy thing. There's a whole other sex dynamic between the genders that we're also seeing here. Colleagues, bosses, and then we see a guy try to sleep his way up to the top and fail at it. Like, that's healthy. So there's all kinds of interesting dynamics happening on a cultural level that you just weren't really seeing. At least I don't remember seeing as a kid. that we need.
Yeah.
We need that kind of stuff. I don't know that you need to do this as a 2026 film, in terms of like, yeah, let's see white subjugates. I mean, I'm fine with it. I just don't think it's going to have the same level of impact as you were going to have in 1992, you know, and
yeah, it might actually be met negatively, you know, of like, cause like, you know, at the time I would imagine, I mean, I was 12, I didn't really know a whole lot, but, I would imagine like, you know, you need to have the shock factor at that time, you know, to like make a statement. And now I'm not saying that it's not still prevalent and not still a problem, but I think I think people are more sensitive about like, why would you do that? That's not real. Like people want real now, you know? And so you can address something as a problem without making it the center of the story. Right. And that's kind of what this kind of did, which is not a bad thing. I'm just saying like it's so obvious to a white person, right? I guess, to, you know, I'm sure there's racism in all of us, right?
They had to carve out a space that you could just look and see black excellence, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. 100%.
And I think
I welcomed it. I thought it was like beautiful. I thought it was great. Like this is, unfortunately, it felt like another universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Unfortunately. Like it would be nice if that was just like not even thought about and like standard.
Absolutely. So. And I think the reason it's unfortunate, right, is because there wasn't a lot of this going on. And I think this movie, Love Jones, Love and Basketball, they Waiting to Exhale, like they all point, How Stella Got a Groove Back, all those films, like they kind of point to a failure of Hollywood business culture. There was a thirst and a hunger for these kinds of films that they weren't meeting. And so it kind of makes a case for like Hollywood not really doing enough. There is something culturally rotten that has always been there and has always been going on, because whenever you see it takes Eddie Murphy to get a film like this going, that can't be right. Like there's got to be something wrong there. Like why weren't there more films being pumped out whenever you had an audience so hungry for it? And I think there's some racial dynamics culturally happening in those offices that people were ignoring, and to their detriment. If you're leaving money on the table, there's something rotten. Let me put it that way, you know? And so anyway, there were some other things that I really enjoyed about the film. One is the wardrobe. I thought was very interesting. I mean, it's very early 90s wardrobe. I mean, they killed it. But there's potentially, now this one, there's two notes on wardrobe. One is definite. The other is sketchy. So this is me saying, could there be something there? I don't know. But I found it interesting to think about. And it's probably more coincidental than anything, but hear me out. This is my own, I'm being the conspiracy friend now. They had that conversation after the John Witherspoon comes in and wrecks shop on his son, Gerard, right? Gerard has his parents over, and John Witherspoon is the freaking best. And then they leave and they're cleaning up. Angela and Marcus clean up, and then they're watching TV, falling asleep, and they're watching Star Trek. And they have that Trekkie conversation, right? And Marcus is breaking it down. Yeoman Johnson isn't going to live, right? And he gives her kind of the red shirt theory. He doesn't bring up the red shirt, but that's the theory, right? Is that Star Trek, you can tell who isn't going to live based on a supporting cast member being in a red shirt. Like they're going to die on a mission. And so he's pointing that out effectively. And there's a couple interesting red clothing moments that happen. One, in that scene, Angela's wearing a red dress. And so I find it interesting that she's going to get her heart broke, right? She's not going to make it to the end of the film.
Oh, interesting.
I find that cool. But in the opening, Marcus is wearing a red coat, right? That's where he meets Leela Rashawn Christie, right? With the dog walking thing. He's got this red coat on, and I find that kind of interesting, as if he's a red shirt and it's kind of covering his black shirt. Like he's got this nice black, I don't know if it's turtleneck, but it's a very close neck shirt. And maybe Marcus isn't going to make it to the end either, like symbolically, right? Because he's starting as someone that he isn't going to complete the film. He needs to go through a transformation. He needs to kill the person that he is, the player, who's picking up chicks without a dog, acting like he's lying. He lies so much to Christie, as if he's telling her he's got a dog. He makes up a story about being cheated on his wedding day, and how his bride-to-be is sleeping with the best man and the pastor. Like, he is going all out as a complete scumbag. And then, of course, at the end of the film, what I find interesting is both Marcus and Angela are in all black as they reconcile. And it's like they had to shed the people they were to become the people they were. They need to be to find each other, you know. And it's also, I think, kind of a visual representation of black on black love, as we see them very nice in business attire, and they look suave as hell. I mean, it's peak Eddie Murphy and Halle Berry. You could put them in anything, but they look amazing together. And I think that's this nice visual reflection of black on black love. That's really wonderful. And so that's my theory about the Trek red shirt element. I don't know if it's really there intended, but it doesn't feel completely accidental to me as a film nut. But okay, what about wardrobe as character? This, I think, is very embedded in the film, which is Jacqueline versus Angela. So you have Jacqueline, her wardrobe, right? Very tight clothing. It's revealing, sexy. She gets naked, right? She is a woman of desire. And I find that really interesting because she's not empty. She's not objectified, right? She's not an object where she's just this empty vessel of want for Marcus. Instead, she is a woman with her own desires and goals and motivations, right? She's smart and capable. She is a complete reflection of Marcus himself, because all those things are Marcus. And then you have Angela, who wears looser clothing. That's Halle freaking Berry. Mm-hmm. But you never see her figure at all. Instead, right, what we see is her personality come through. She's sweet. And so falling for her and choosing her is about something non-physical, right? It's emotional. It's what's in her brain. It's emotional connection. And I think that's so smart, because we're viscerally attracted to Jacqueline, but we're so much more emotionally connected with Angela. And whenever he hurts Angela, that's really upsetting. Like we're not happy about that at all. And we are okay with him walking away from Jacqueline, Robin Givens, who lit me on fire as a young man.
I can imagine.
Let me tell you. I was all about some Robin Givens. And yet, in this movie, I was rooting for Angela. And I think that's really cool, to have someone as wildly attractive as Halle Berry and bury all that, right, in her character and let her character shine through. And I just thought that was a really wonderful choice of wardrobe, to not call attention to her figure and instead call attention to her character. And they just execute it to a 10, because every scene with her is awesome. Watching how she interacts with the world, and how upbeat and just a ray of sunshine she is every time she's on screen. That comes down to not just writing, but also to the wardrobe department, and probably a lot. I'd be curious to see what those conversations were like, because the wardrobe is fire in this movie, especially for 1992. Like, everyone is amazing. I love, there's clearly a lot of black influence. He's wearing a Howard sweatshirt in the rowing scene, and Martin Lawrence is wearing Warrior. I don't know who designed that shirt, but it's sick. It's so nice. Yeah, And so wardrobe is sick in this whole movie. I freaking loved it. And it holds up. And everyone looks, I think, still amazing. Like, everyone still looks really good. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Robin Givens has the biggest hair in the world, and it's still hot. Like, she still looks.
Yeah, I know. Thought that too. I was like, it works.
Still works, man. Still looks good. The other thing I really liked, on the writing level anyway, was seeing Marcus on dates. This is a lot of rule of twos, rule of repeats, which is we see Marcus go on effectively 2 main dates. The first date with Christy, the dog walker, goes so smooth, right? She loves his food. He's able to dodge the neighbor and navigate around, Tisha Campbell. Christy is hanging on every word. He's in total control. Every play he runs, this isn't right for me. I don't think I can do this. And then gets her to get her to pull him in. No, you should come in. No, get in my bed, right? He's in such control. As opposed to the second date with Jacqueline. Everything goes wrong. He's totally out of control. She doesn't care about his food, right? She isn't listening to him. She wants to watch the game. He is completely at a loss. And we see how he's like just crushed by the end of that. Oh, great. I'll walk you to the elevator. And I also love that while we're seeing that, we're also intercutting with Angela's date with Gerard. And we can see how Gerard isn't a good fit for her. Whereas Angela and Marcus have effortless chemistry from the very beginning. We see them at the party that they meet joking, right? And discussing just fluidly. It just pops off. They're discussing and joking about guys, checking out other guys. And he's like, I don't look at a dude and be like, man, I want to hit that. Like I see, Billy D. Williams, like, he's cool. I think he's cool. And she's like, no, come on. And then he's got to bounce. He's got to go chase Jacqueline. Whereas right immediately we see her meet Gerard and he can't even form a first word. He's just, and so we can feel, and then watching them on the date, right, lets us sympathize with Gerard for sure, while also not getting upset that it didn't work out with Angela for him, because it never feels right for us, just like it doesn't feel right for her. We understand why she's not connecting with him. And so watching them together, it really helps solidify who they are to each other without hanging our hopes on their relationship. And at the same time, the other thing I really like about intercutting those 2 dates is intercutting Angela and Gerard and Marcus and Jacqueline lets us advance the dates to the relevant moments very, seamlessly. And it speeds the date up a lot by cutting it out. As opposed to a lot of the directing in this movie is interesting because on the one hand, what I did love, a lot of long takes and wide shots and letting the actors play to create their own edits, so to speak. Because normally in a non-comedy, you'd be cutting around a lot in order to emphasize emotion. Instead, we kind of hang back and let them pace the scene themselves through those decisions. The beats come when the actors feel like creating the beats, when it feels right. And these are great actors. Why not let them create those moments for themselves? And some of those moments hang a lot longer. Like the beat after Gerard's parents come out of the bathroom. We really sit on that for a hot minute while David Alan Grier and Eddie Murphy just play out the comedy of bro, I get it.
Yeah. They just stood there or whatever. And I know it wasn't part of this. It was obvious that it wasn't part of the movie for Eddie Murphy to put that thing down and then hug him. It was the perfect thing that you do for your friend.
It's so good.
God. And David Alan Grier's okay. Crying.
It's
Perfect.
so good.
But you're right. They hang there for a long time.
Just letting them play it out, feel it out, let the actors dictate. Where the directing kind of runs a little bit, could have done more, is there are almost no transitions or segues between scenes. There's so many dips to black and fade ins, which is fine. It works. Don't get me wrong. But I just think it could be smoother and more cohesive if you find a little bit more of a transition between some of these moments that tells you why you're going to the next scene. queuing up the next scene a little bit more cleanly. But it's fine. I think it also helps us feel embedded in their lives by doing these fade ins and fade outs. Just makes time go much slower in a good way, that you feel like, yeah, it probably has been weeks. It has been months. Everything has been going on for a long time. Whereas if you create a bunch of segues that are very seamless, it suddenly feels like no time has gone by at all. And so there's a balance. Like, there's definitely some good, but then there's also like, we could have tied this together on a directing level a lot more cleanly, I think. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's about it as far as my notes go. The beginning says it all, right? This is a story of a famous dog. For the dog that chases its tail will be dizzy. George Clinton, right? And they use those visuals and those sounds of a dog a lot, especially in the first half of the movie, because even Gerard says Marcus is too much dog, not enough romance. And so that's the journey he's got to go on, of stopping his dog-like tendencies and becoming a true romantic. And I do love the use of the Empire State Building, right? The lights go out when his heart gets broken, and then the lights come back on whenever Marcus makes up with Gerard and he gets his friends back. He's becoming a better friend, and there's a light inside of him that's kind of going on and going off depending on his emotional state. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good symbolism.
Yeah. Yeah. It's simple. It's easy. Why not? And it lets you feel New York a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It still works for me, but I completely get why it didn't work for you. And I think those are very fair criticisms and something to keep in mind when you're working on any story. We talk about that a lot, right? The cost of success. Like, you want to feel like the proportion that your character is screwed up needs to be in a good ratio of what it takes to get them back in our favor. And this just did not quite meet the right balance, realistically speaking.
Like what did Marcus lose? He didn't even lose his job. Like,
yeah, he
left his job.
Yeah.
You know, like, nothing. He lost nothing. He yeah. I mean, that was just, I don't know. I think that was the biggest thing for me. And, because like, there's nothing in reality, in like real life, which is supposed to be what well, not every movie, but what like movies are supposed to emulate. Even a movie like this, you know, when you're talking about relationships, needs to emulate real life, and it just didn't, right? Like, I don't know of any woman that if I would have done that, what he did would take me back at all, much less that fast.
Yeah.
I don't know any friend that if I would have done what he did would have forgiven me as fast as Gerard did. And then also, you know, that kind of like for Gerard's character, like, he grows a pair when he steps up to Marcus. Grows it, right? And so are we saying that because he grew the pair, he now can forgive him? Which I also think is bullshit. Or are we saying that he, or are we taking a step back and saying, oh no, he really didn't grow a pair. He is how he was, which is just kind of like, you know, meek and, you know, unconfrontational. You know, either way, I don't think it was justification of his character to just forgive him like that, in my opinion.
I think you're right. What I think they could have used is a subplot with Gerard that extends beyond Angela. Like, he has a subplot with Angela, but extending it beyond that, where we get to see how that moment changes him. Because he does. You're right. That is a shift in character for him to finally step up and say something negative to Marcus. Because up until that point, he's kissing his ass the whole movie. Everything Marcus does is gold. But now he's a changed person. What would it look like for him to see someone wherever at a party and approach her and suddenly become the person he wasn't for Angela for someone else, and to suddenly have the confidence to be who he is, and that becomes a defining moment for him to suddenly be like, yeah, I'm a confident person. I know who I am and I know my worth. And now he can be decisive, because that was the whole thing with Angela. He couldn't even decide what to order for food. And so for him to suddenly find that resolve in himself could have been reflected with just, I don't know, 1 or 2 more scenes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well said.
Well done, man. Okay. Nice. What are you going to recommend this week?
This week I am recommending Beef Season 2. It's fantastic. I loved every moment of that show. The acting is so good. It's so good. It's heartbreaking, and it's gross, and it's unnerving, and it's so real. The whole season long. What's the girl's? I'm so bad with names. What's the
Carey
girl's
Mulligan
name?
Or Kaylee Spaney?
Nope. Kaylee Spaney. I'm in love with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
She is, for me, like one of the best that I've seen in a long time. And I don't know, like probably, the only one that I could compare her to that I just am enthralled with is what's her name from Hamnet?
Jessie Buckley.
Jessie Buckley. She is in the same camp for me. I mean, obviously it's 2 totally different subject matters, right? But just like the level of commitment to the character that she has is on par with Jessie Buckley for me. Like she's just so freaking good. I will watch anything that she does. And then obviously, Carey Mulligan. What's her name?
Carey Mulligan.
Yeah, Mulligan and everybody in it is so good, and the writing is so good, and it's interesting, and you don't know where it's going, and it turns really weird at the end and stuff. But then there's it's like I adore it. I love this show, and the fact that like every season can be completely different now. It's very I don't know, Black Mirror in the way where like you just don't know at all what it's going to be or turn into. And I was just on edge the entire season. So yeah.
Totally agree. Yeah. I've been crazy about everyone in this movie for sure, or in that show. Kaylee Spaney since Devs has been like, what is going on? And
she was in Devs.
Yeah. Lyndon.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's been a minute since I've seen that.
Yeah.
It was like, what, 7 years ago, 8 years ago?
6 years ago. Yeah, right. Start of COVID.
Yeah. Wow. Dude. Anyway.
Yep. So, Kaylee Spaney. Oh, and Charles Melton is just, we were talking about him on Warfare, and that guy is so good. Oh,
so good, man.
God. Yeah. So, and obviously Oscar Isaac goes without saying. Yeah. Dude, great recommendation. I'm going to recommend Love and Basketball. If you're like, I could use a little bit more black romance in my life. It's just the best. Omar Epps and Sanaa Lathan, Gina Prince by the Wood. Like, she's just so good. Who was a writer on was she a writer or just a producer on Felicity? I've been watching Felicity. I finally got into Felicity, and I'm like, it's just not what I thought it was going to be. So I'm freaking out over Felicity all of a sudden.
Cool.
Yeah. And so Love and Basketball, go watch that, and stay tuned for next week. We're going to go way back to the end of the 90s, 1999, the Blair Witch Project. And I don't know, see what those kooky explorers are up to. What do they find out there in their little project? And if you're enjoying the show, don't forget, subscribe, drop us a review, leave us a note, something you want us to cover. And if you want to comment on this episode, you can do that at thepestlepodcast.com/boomerang.
And our quote of the day is from Zora Neale Hurston. If you're silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it. Wow. What does that mean to you?
Oh, yeah. It's like, it's a bit of you not speaking up for yourself will come across as compliance. And I realized we haven't quoted her at all. And I was like, oh, this is the perfect, we're in New York. She was a big part of the Black Renaissance, the Harlem Renaissance, and just one of the most famous Black writers of all time. And I was just like, man, yeah. And as I was going through her quotes, I saw this one and it just spoke to me because of Angela. Angela doesn't take Marcus's shit. She stomped him. Like the second he stepped out of line, she called him out, she slapped the shit out of him, and she left. Now it turned her bitter. She became the thing that she didn't want to become, as she was living with that hurt. But I had so much love for her for not staying quiet about her hurt. And even whenever he goes and tries to reconcile, she's still resisting him. She's still calling him out and, saying all the things that she's been thinking. Now, ultimately, she relents, but not before speaking up for herself and feeling convinced that, okay, there's still something in me that wants him. And so I think that's the part of her that had to find out if it can work. And I don't begrudge anyone who forgives someone and sees it through, because sometimes that's just the way it is. And you gotta know before you can walk away, if there is something there. And seeing Zora Neale Hurston kind of put a finger on it was just like, whoa, yeah. If you don't speak up for yourself, everyone's always going to paint themselves as the good guy. And if you don't say something, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it. That obviously has a lot more relevance when you're talking about, the 20s and 30s during Jim Crow, that she was living in. And worth pointing out as well, for sure, because you've certainly heard that argument about slavery, about Jim Crow. Like, they were happy and they were better off for it. Black people living under slavery. They were better. What in the fuck are you talking? Okay, sorry. I don't know if any of those arguers are going to listen to the show, so I'm not going to jump on my high horse right now. But if you have those thoughts ever about the past, you are incorrect.
Don't listen to us.
Listen to us, especially when we say you were wrong.
No, I don't want you to listen to my podcast. I don't give a shit. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah. What do you hear whenever you hear her say that?
Yeah, I think I think you explained it really well. Yeah, I think the world needs your voice in and you being the royal you. Like, there's something to. I mean, I guess you could relate it to AI in a way where like AI can never be human because it is just an amalgamation of human emotion and experience. Right? But humans, like, your pain or your experience is yours, and the world needs to see it, because the world needs you in all the ways. They need your experience. They need your perspective. They need, and that is based off of your entire life and everything that happens around you, to you, that you happen to. There are so many, it's a melting pot, right? And you need to put that out there. That's, obviously she's talking about, slavery and standing up, against that, and that's what this is about. But like, if you're relating it to today, we can relate it to, it's always relatable, because I think we're all, scared too about like being vocal about things. I mean, especially now, like you live in Texas and you're anti-Trump. You're like kind of like, careful about what you say. If you're pro-Trump and you live in California, you're careful about what you say. But whether people agree with you or not, you are an amalgamation of your what you believe and your feelings, and you should express that. And if it's passion about civil rights, then especially that, because like you said in the beginning, helping others is the best way to get out of your own shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that this is a great quote to help remind you of, it's not just about you. Yeah. It's about helping others. And like staying silent is about you, you know, but speaking up is about others, you know.
That's so good, man. Boomerang, I didn't understand when I was a kid, but I understand it as an adult. Boomerang, the title, is about what goes around comes around. So as you're treating others, remember that.
Mic drop. Well said. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. I had a great time talking to you about this, Wes. This is like
thanks for
always
humoring me, man.
intriguing to talk to you about stuff like this. This is so great. I could talk to you for another hour, but we won't do that. Make sure to subscribe, review us wherever you get your podcasts, share us with your friends, and if there's a film you want to see us talk about or pick apart, let us know. Maybe we will cover it one day. Until then, I am Todd.
I'm Wes.
Go watch some movies.